Hello, 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 everyone. I don't have my mic on, so I hope everybody can hear me. This is Aurelia Davis, Educator's Educator, coming to you. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I have been so busy during my birthday month, which is the month of July. I was born on July the 4th, I'm glad to say. And so I definitely decided to do a celebration. So I went on an Alaskan cruise. I sure did. I went on an Alaskan cruise and had a ball. Had a ball. And the ball to the point where I just basically relaxed and enjoyed. It was my sister and I, and just relaxed and enjoyed the scenery and just saw everything I wanted to see, some of the tours, and then just the ship itself was so nice. Some of the ports we did go to was I had to look them up because I forgot them. Sagway. We did attend we stopped at Sagway. That was the first port that we stopped in, Sagway. And small town, not a whole lot of things going on. And then no, let me take that back. We stopped at Sitka first, and then we did it Sagway, and then we went to Victoria, Canada. The British Columbia. So those were the ports and the stops that we made. Very nice, very comfortable. The weather was not bad. I keep telling everybody I didn't see any glaciers, and what I'm understanding is that my particular cruise boat on that particular side was you don't see as much of the water as going on the other side. So it was okay, it was fine, I enjoyed it. We were going for like about a week. We went left on the 6th and came back on the 14th, and back back in the saddle. I just hope everybody's doing well out there, enjoying your summers and everything. The weather is sort of rough all over the United States, so just be careful out there and take care of yourselves. Drink plenty of water. Drink plenty of water. Stay hydrated and just take care of yourselves. I'm coming on today because as things are happening, students are getting ready to go back to school, and teachers are getting ready to go back to school. From what I'm understanding, CPS students will be going back as early as the 21st of August, so they don't really have too much time, but they did get out early in June. They did get out early in June. So just basically, getting ready. And teachers, I know you're planning. This is a little bit of a different opening than last year, because last year you weren't so sure because of the results of the pandemic, but this time things are free and clear. It does not mean that you should not continue to be safe and do what you have to do in order to be safe. Sanitize your classroom, let the children use hand sanitizer as much as possible. Encourage them to wash their hands and cover their coughs or whatever like that, because coming into the fall, there's going to be a lot of children that basically will be catching colds and so on and so forth. So you just want to keep things safe and secure within your classroom and within your building. I'm talking about a particular subject today because it's sort of ran across my mind, and it happened from an experience that I had at the airport coming back to Chicago. I was sitting in the airport. I was taking of the Alaska plane, the Alaskan I was taking a plane from the Alaskan, whatever I'm trying, you know what I'm trying to say. Just like Delta or, Southwest, this was the Alaskan. Okay, Alaskan Airlines. That's what I'm trying to say. Alaskan Airlines. And so while sitting there waiting to get on my flight to come back to Chicago, a a person walked past me, walked in front of me, and the person, it was a gentleman sitting on the other side of me. And so a person walked past me, and he was tall. He was tall. It was a male. It was a male. And the interesting thing that caught my attention and this other man's attention, my neighbor that was sitting right next to me, was that he was a stewardess, and he was wearing a stewardess outfit, and he was wearing a skirt. He was wearing a skirt or dress. And so I looked and I saw it, and then I looked again. Okay. And the man, the my neighbor who was sitting next to me. He looked at me, and I looked at him, And I shared something with him that I thought was very, very interesting, or something that I remember. When I was a teacher back in the classroom, what I would do when I was always calling my students to line up, my first words would be girls line up, boys line up, or boys line up, or girls line up. And at the same time, sometimes I would not make a difference between boys and girls. I may say table one, table two, which is also good, also good. And I was I started a conversation with this person that was sitting next to me in the airport, and I said, you know what? I used to teach school, and I said, I think I would have a very difficult time going back into the classroom now because I've been out since 2012, especially since the new gender identity respect or notice has come out about how to address our students and how to address boys and girls. And I it was like a joke, but I really didn't mean that for it to be derogatory or anything. I said what I say now: girls line up, boys line up, and then who do you believe you yourself to be line up? And that would basically be include all of the children. It include all of the children. But I you can't make those kind of statements anymore without being called to the office or called upon. And so what bothers me more than anything else about this, and I'm just going to be very honest, I am a lady that have been around for a long time. And not saying that there were differences in genders, throughout my whole life. Of course there was. Of course there was. And at one time it wasn't recognized as much as it's recognized now, which is okay too. We have evolved. We have evolved, and I can respect being evolved to the point where you realize who you are and what you are, and what you want to be called. you know but what bothers me, I think, more than anything else, are we, and I ask this question, are we putting a lot of adult responsibility on our children? I'll say it again. Are we putting a lot of adult responsibilities on our children? When I think about going back to my early childhood development class, we talked about how children developed, from toddler to adolescence to young adult to adulthood. And that toddler and that school age child, their brains were still evolving and still being built. In other words, their brain cells were still gathering to get thoughts together, to get words together, to get memory together, all of those things. But when we as adults put pressure, adult pressures on children, I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong. If a child, and I basically I've always been a good listener of children. I take whatever comes out of their mouths to be very serious. And anything that they had, any questions that they had to address, some things I would leave it to their parents. But at the same time, some things I would answer their questions immediately about Miss Davis. Where does this come from, or how were puppies born and things like that. Then we would go and look things up. So I've always been open to a child's questioning, but sometimes the answers I would give that child would be age appropriate as to what they could understand. In other words, even though they were young and walking around and they could say yes and no, and take themselves to the bathroom and know how to eat with a fork and spoon and whatever, they're still not adults. They are still not adults. So I'm saying this to say this, that we have to really, really be careful as to how much adult responsibility we put on our children, because no matter how smart you think they still are developing those brain cells so that they can understand. And just because you have answered a question on Monday, it does not mean that they have the complete answers and won't ask the same question with a little more details on that following Monday. Children be children, and I do believe that. Let children be children as long as they can, because once you become an adult, that is it. It's a done deal. It's not going away. You'll be adult more longer than you'll be a child. But allow our children, and I'm talking to parents, I'm talking to teachers and whatever. And teachers, you're going to have to be careful as to how you address your children, your students in the fall. And I'm going to be honest. Some of the things I was thinking about, that if I was still in a classroom, I probably would say all my children line up, or either this table, set them by tables and whatever, and line them up by tables, which of course would be a mixture of boys and girls, and those other children that are basically recognizing with another gender. So in the meantime, but what's more important than anything else, you need to tap into your school or your district and find out what the rules are, because so many teachers are starting to get into trouble, and it can be very frustrating when you are doing what you have been taught to do in college, and then it's not acceptable in the classroom. Is not acceptable in the classroom. In some states, they have basically taken a lot of the rights away from teachers, and that upsets me, because if we are there for a purpose, and that our purpose is to teach children, and we have been trained and taught on how to teach children. Everyone cannot teach children. Everyone cannot teach children, and they shouldn't take it upon themselves. And when you get to the point where you say, oh, anybody can teach, then you are diminishing the educational field, which is wrong. Is wrong. There are special skills on how we instruct children. There are special skills on how we teach children. And of course, we're looking at the developmental age of children as to how they should be taught and when they should be taught, and certain things they should be taught. Certain things they should be taught. So somebody may say, well, the child is smart, but at the same time, it's still a child. And to just to pile a lot of adult thoughts and things into a child's brain is not, it's not healthy. That's what I'm going to say. It's not a healthy thing. So you have to be very, very careful about what children see. You have to be very careful about what children hear, because now they're picking up anything and everything. And it's enough of social media out there to just take them to the next level. But at the same time, when they have watched social media, which I think should be very, very guarded in a household, or in a, that once they have seen the social media, those children are going to come back to you and ask for explanations about some of the things they saw. And at the same time, there is an adult version that you can tell them, but there is also a child's version that you can tell them, which I think will be very, very inspirational. There is an ongoing learning process with children and students and whatever. And we should respect that as adults. We should respect that as adults. It's interesting because I look at Facebook sometimes, and I see some reels where people are putting their children, because they're talking like adults, and putting them on Facebook and whatever. It can be funny, but at the same time, it can be very serious, because once a child, a 10-year-old, start acting like an adult, he's going to want to be treated like an adult. And if you're not ready to take on that transition, then you need to keep reminding that child that he is a child. Okay, I did it. I said it. Thanks for coming on. I'll be coming back and forth. I'm here for the summer. I'm here for the summer, so I'll be seeing you again. I wanted to talk about a few things in preparing our children to get ready for school, coming back to school. And it's very interesting about, as our children transition from eighth grade to high school, and how much they know, and how much we still have to give them, how many skills we still have to build on in order for them to be ready for high school, and from high school on to college. What skills, we can't take it for granted that skills are in place. I think we talked about that before. And so that's something we need to do. So this is Aurelia Davis, the educator's educator. Glad to be back. Glad to be back in Chicago, enjoying the weather, and just hoping that you teachers are getting the rest that you totally deserve. I give you praise. I give you accolades as far as being the best that you are. Continue to do what you do. Continue to do what you do and just prepare yourself and get ready for a fantastic school year coming into August. This is Aurelia Davis, Educator's Educator. Oh, feel free to go over to my website, aureliadavis.com. I'm offering the STEM learning cards for early childhood. Please feel free to order as many as you can. This will be a good start for the new school year. You know, if you're a preschool teacher and you haven't started STEM, this is time. It's time because it's still on the rise. It's still on the rise. They are pushing it, and these particular cards that I have created will help you in your classroom tremendously. It will help you in your classroom tremendously. All right, take care and have a good evening. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.